Alliance called Alliance. If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Salliance. That's
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive Bobby Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
I'm building an alliance.
Will you join us?
Wait, what? We're not. We already built the alliance. We don't need to build another alliance. Man, one of these days I'll get it right. But until then, good evening, good afternoon, and what's up, everybody? This is the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your premier source for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Cal. With me is DKM. And joining us also is Jaden. What's up, Jaden? What's up, DK? How are you guys?
Not telling you.
I'm glad you guys are using the little extra little tabs underneath to promote something.
You know, I did not put that up there, and I'm thinking maybe DK did because I didn't. I was like, oh, okay. Well, we'll
yeah, I did it earlier. It was like, okay, so Jaden was advertising dog, and so I decided to advertise IHWE for reasons unbeknownst to me. And I thought Jay needs to advertise his thing, and so that's the best I could come up with, since that's the actual website.
You know, speaking of the actual website, right now, that just published seconds ago, are the results of this week's Power. If you haven't watched it, you can go read about it right now. I do a little bit of a deep dive in news and notes for each episode of Power. I try to get that out on Thursdays, but, you know, maybe sometimes Fridays. It's up there now. Plus, on the website, you know, we have you guys might only know this this vehicle from the podcast, the live stream, whatever, but you know, this all started on a website. And not only do we have the news and notes from this week's Power, but we have the updated card for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Obviously, we talked about the new tag team champions. And so, yeah, I mean, the site's getting updated a little bit more. And, you know, we encourage you guys to check that out as well because, again, it's all mixed together.
There was a time when the only thing I knew about the website that it had a message board. I knew the message board before I knew the website.
Well, I think the message board existed before the website. Do you remember the timeline for that? Should we talk about that right now?
Sure.
If you want to.
So, the National Wrestling Alliance used to have a message board. In fact, that's where a lot of us met. That's where I met DKM and Jaden at. And in fact, the one time I worked for the NWA, it was managing that message board with Shane's photos. Unfortunately, they wanted to control the narrative, you know, but way before EC3 was doing it, and they ended up disbanding the message board because, you know, we were kind of vocal.
Opinionated. Opinionated.
Yeah, very much opinionated. Because we wanted, you know, we wanted the NWA to be a certain way. We've always been like that. It wasn't just J Cal, it wasn't just DKM, it wasn't just Jaden, but there were other guys like Tez himself or Stanley. There was Rob Allison, God rest his soul. Stanley too, he passed away. There's a lot of people who used to contribute on that board. Big Chris Dog, you'll see him in here.
Magnum.
Who?
like a Magnum.
Yeah, a Magus.
Magus.
Yeah, and NWA Chucky.
Yeah, NWA Chucky. Pole jump.
And
Sean Mega.
Was Pole Jump there?
Yeah.
P. Was
No.
Pole Jump was on yours.
Pole jump came later. I apologize.
Yeah.
Initial Dodi, our friend from Indonesia.
In case you're wondering why we called BKD Big Chris Dog, is because that was his name on the forum that just kind of stuck. Made a word.
And I'm happy to say that I've met 4 of you guys from that board. Some of them I won't ever meet because they live in other countries. Dodi, wish you were closer, man. I don't see myself going to Indonesia anytime soon.
Let's start an NWA Indonesia.
Maybe.
Or IWHE Dog Indonesia.
Presented by Alliance Stash Wrestling.
And buckets for rent. I bet you they need buckets in Indonesia.
I'm sure they do. It'd be an arm and a leg to get there. I actually, this might not turn into anything, but for my business, we're rapidly approaching our 10-year anniversary. Been in business for 10 years under the name Buckets for Rent. And although I don't typically plug that all the time here on the message board, you might see that name pop up. Message board on the podcast, you might see that name pop up from time to time moving forward. And the reason why I bring that up is because we're going to have a little get together, I believe in May, maybe in June or July, one of those months. And I might be renting out a hall for that. And well, I might only be using the hall for the morning, the mid-afternoon, and I might get away with being able to, I don't know, put a wrestling show on the evening. I don't know. It's just talk right now, but I figure if I'm going to spend that kind of money for a building, I might as well use it to the fullest extent I can.
Well, make sure it's not on June 28th, and maybe we can work something out.
Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. There's a lot of conversation to be had. This was an idea that just came across today. We were talking. I was talking with the company that we're using to plan the party, and they're like, "Well, maybe you should get a hall." And I thought, if I get a hall, I'm going to do a wrestling show. If I'm going to pay for a building, I might as well use it, right?
Yeah, I guess use it to the, like you said, the full extent. I was actually talking to a building this morning, and they said a lot of things right. The thing is, they don't want to rent it out for a huge block of time.
Yeah.
So they're like, can you do it between 5 and 10?
Yes.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I go, well.
If that doesn't count clean up, yes.
What'd you say?
If that doesn't count clean up, that would actually be very easy.
Oh, no, that's it. That's total time. And so, but I was thinking, I go, well, I could run a 2-hour show and finish by 9. That would give an hour to break down the ring, clean up. The problem would be getting the ring there and put in place at like 5 o'clock and everything. So it's like not impossible, but not the easiest.
If it makes you feel any better, Dog is going to have to walk a ring 2 flights of stairs on a pivot for this Saturday.
Feel any better.
You know what will make me feel better? Seeing video of that.
It could be done. We actually had the school grab a 16-foot board. It could be done, but boy, is it going to suck.
Hey, real quick, DK, that shirt looks interesting. I cannot see all of it. What does it say?
Oh.
Life is short.
Oh.
Life is short. Don't be a bully.
Nice. Is that one also up for sale in your pro wrestling tees?
No, this is actually an old one that I had bought. So
I know a guy that could help you make that shirt again if you want to recreate it or something similar to it.
Okay. We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, of course.
Stay on, because I actually have an idea. Plus, I want to. Dr. Zacconi was asking me about designing a I Hate Dave doll shirt.
I know a guy. All right, so like last week, we led off with a recap of NWA Power, and I felt like that was a good way to start these live streams. And I think that's going forward. That's what we might do. Just a heads up in case Jaden, we appreciate you being on, but if you're ever running late, like I think if we discuss Power to start the show, you won't miss a whole lot. And we, of course, we go into other topics after that, but just as a programming note, and I want you guys to know I didn't forget about you, Willie Bowen. I do see you. I see the joke. I'm getting to it right now. And that joke is, hi guys, Tyrus is going on a hunger strike, but it will be short-lived. Now, will the hunger strike
be even on it?
Will Tyrus be short-lived, or will the hunger strike be short-lived? Because if he doesn't eat,
that'll really ruin our economy.
You thought inflation was bad before.
We're gonna have a surplus now.
Yeah, Dave Valentine says, I want the NWA to get the rights to Starrcade again. I don't see Trips letting go of any of the NWA copyrights for any reason. I mean, there's just there's no reason to do that. And plus, I mean, with NXT on the rise the way that it is, I would not be surprised if in a year or two we start seeing, not takeovers, but full-on, premium live events that are scheduled around NXT programming.
What's really the difference, honestly, though?
Well, there isn't.
They maybe now with Trips in charge, they'll use it for a thing. They actually let Starrcade lapse.
So who owns it?
Well, they got it back.
Okay.
Because it was when Cody started. When Cody started applying for old ones that it lapsed, that they decided maybe we better go find these things and figure out what it is. And so they got it back, and they had started using it again just for house shows, like a November house show.
Yeah.
For NXT. And so normally in the Carolinas. So it'll be interesting. I don't know if they did one last year or not, but it'll be interesting to see if they don't start using those. Because, they've used like Bash at the Beach or something like that already.
Yeah. I mean, look, as a business owner myself, I realize the difficulty of getting things registered and trademarked. I'm not a big corporation like the WWE, and I don't have lawyers on retainer to do that sort of thing for me. But I mean, it's hard for me to think that if it's got any value at all, you have a team of lawyers. They should be literally keeping those names registered, copyrighted, whatever it is you need to do to keep those names, because it's just it's an asset that doesn't cost you any money, but to keep it registered. And I think you register for a couple of years at a time. And the nostalgia associated with those names, like, even though it's not an NWA Starrcade, I imagine if you were in the Carolinas and there's a large premium live event that they call Starrcade, I mean, I think people would get behind that. And I know like the Willie Bowens of the world who like despise the WWE, yeah, they're out, but I imagine there's a lot of people who'd be, yeah, I'm in. Let's go.
Oh, well.
Oh,
Dog's got the All-American Bash.
You do have the All-American Bash. I mean, not you, but the inclusivity of you and Dr. Lord Zirconium and the stars of the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators and the World Wrestling Grand Prix.
And Bob.
Who the hell's Bob?
I don't know, but there's
your uncle, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's right, Bob's your uncle.
And besides Uncle Greg. By the way, is David related to you and Uncle Greg?
No, not by blood. Maybe by marriage. Did I tell you guys that I'm going to Scotland in April?
Yes.
Yes, and aren't you going to jaunty down to England?
Yeah, we're gonna be a little bit all over the place. We're gonna spend some time.
Then you better know Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, well,
yes.
The idea is that I might. Our good friend Billy Wood, who at one point was leveraging himself to buy the NWA, had told me years ago that if I was ever in England, he would make sure that there was a wrestling show occurring when I was there. So he hasn't really said yes or no yet, but there has been some at the very least activity on their end. So there's a possibility I might be going to a one of Billy Wood's shows. Otherwise, I might be going to a different UK-based wrestling show. And I might even, or I am, it's already been planned. I will be hanging out with Fiona, our friend Fee, when I'm out there in Scotland. So it's going to be a good time. But
if you happen to see a flag in Scotland, Wales, and England, please pick them up. I collect flags. And does Tijuana have a flag?
Does where?
Tijuana have its own flag?
Mexico.
Yeah, but does Tijuana have its own flag?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if they do, I'm not familiar with it. I've never seen one when I'm down there.
I just like flags.
And I literally go through the border to see it. So I'm like where a flag would be if they had one. I'm not going to Wales. I'll be in London. I'll be in Edinburgh. And so a little bit of family history here. My last name can trace its origin literally back to the Isle of Man, which is just off the coast of Scotland. Actually, I guess it's closer to London. Anyways, I'll be there for
Scotland. You're right.
Huh?
Oh, wait a minute. Isle of Man?
Yeah, the Isle of Man.
There's two, and I get them confused sometimes.
There's also, I think, the Isle of Skye. I think that's not the one.
And there's
Barry Miguel Cicluna was from the Isle of Malta.
That's not it either. And I'll also be attending a football game while I'm out there, and it's going to be the Caley Thistle, Caley, spelled the same exact way. So don't be surprised if I come home with a football jersey while I'm out there.
Okay, yeah, the Isle of Man's closer to Scotland and in between Scotland and Northern Ireland.
And we're going to the Highlands. We're going to see Coos. We're going to go see the Loch Ness. Maybe we'll see the monster.
You got to wear a kilt.
Yeah, well, we already have the tartan, so I might find a kilt. But all this to say, for those 2 weeks that I'm gone, you guys are on your own. If that's up to Jaden and DKM's discretion if they want to do power or not power, the Alliance guys live stream or not.
If DK's up to it, we'll do it, and I'll talk and escort us exactly on Taylor.
I can even send you guys. I could see if Jeremy or Tim or Dave Scooby would be interested in jumping on.
I don't know those people.
You know you've never met them, but Jaden has.
I met Dave.
You met Dave?
In New Orleans.
That's right. I forgot. That's right. I was looking at some of the preparing for watching Power. I was looking up the history of Colby versus Kerry, and I forgot that they wrestled for the NWA in Shalamit at the Rampage Rumble, and we did see that match. That was before we left.
Yep.
I've actually physically met Scooby before I met you, Jay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he went to one of your shows, didn't he?
No, he went to a dog event, though.
Oh, you got. Finally,
no,
me.
No. I refuse to acknowledge that I made a mistake.
The coy smile is all acknowledgement that we need.
Well, shoot me now. Haircut.
So
Tijuana does have a flag. I want a Tijuana flag.
I just Googled it and I don't see one. I just see the Mexican flag where it says Tijuana on top of it.
Oh, I wish I was in Tijuana.
Eating barbecued iguana.
Anyway, Mexican radio.
Luthez, send me a link of the flag because I just went on Google and I don't see it, and I would love to see the Mexican Tijuana flag. Maybe I should have been on. Maybe I should have to Tijuana Flats. What? Maybe I should have went to. Yeah, I'm on Google Images and I see like the Tijuana football flag, Tijuana Ojos banner flag. Yeah, I don't see a. Are you messing with me over here? Am I getting messed with right now? By Luthez?
Maybe.
Tijuana has an official city flag. The flag features horizontal stripes of blue, white, and red with the city's coat of arms in the center of the white stripes. The white stripes are going to be up for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame next year.
Oh, it makes me feel old.
Yeah. I was there. I was there for the entirety of their yeah, whatever. So, what's good?
Nothing going to get Power done and over with?
Yeah, I guess we should get to Power.
What was Power?
Power. You didn't watch?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. It was a look. This was kind of another mixed bags episode, as far as I'm concerned. Like, nothing in a bubble. None of it was bad, right? I think, again, the taping schedule hurts them. This match was filmed. These matches were filmed back on December the 14th at Looks at Kill in Dothan, Alabama, at the Dothan Civic Center, and you had, one of the talents was unable to compete after an injury that they received. I think it was during WrestleCade weekend, and it prevented that person from being able to wrestle. Now, that's not the end all be all. That's not the end of the world, but because that was filmed so far out, that talent is now wrestling. Is cleared to wrestle. Has been wrestling in Exodus Pro. Has been wrestling in Crossfire, her home promotion, and it's like it just feels weird that we're seeing somebody injured on TV when they're wrestling in the territories, and I feel like that can cause a bit of complication for. I mean, the continuity sucks, and the territory should kind of reflect what's happening on Power and vice versa. I get that it's not exactly the same, but if a talent's injured on TV, it feels weird watching them compete live. Am I the only one that feels like that?
Well, it's just part of their overall. Ever since they've gone out of whack. I mean, like somebody was pointing out to me, I don't even remember who, if it was James H. Jackson Jr. or one of you guys maybe. But, pointing out that when Danny Deals does his things, they still got the background with the CW logo on it.
Yeah.
And it's just, everything about them, it's like if they improve in one area, they got to backslide somewhere else. It's like,
ain't that the truth?
I mean, if I was like Heebs wanted me to be, where I was completely ignorant of what was going on in the world, and I was just watching Power and only Power.
Yeah.
At least some of the stuff, story-wise, they're building. They had their taping October, and they had some plans, and they seem to have followed them. But it's just, their website on one hand advertises matches so that kind of what's going on or that don't make sense. And it's just, and it spoils things for the show because we already know who's the number one contender because we already know who's facing who at the next premium live event.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I don't know. I know they got behind because of CW. I don't know why they haven't bothered to catch up.
Well, and can I be honest for a second?
Yes.
Like, let's think about that. Why did they have to give such a backlog for CW? It's not like when you watch NXT as it is right now, that show is recorded most weeks live, and then the replay is put up on the CW app like the very next day. Why is it that CW required the NWA to be 4 months in advance when it's not like the WWE is 4 months in advance?
The difference between a professional company and a company that has cocaine on a pay-per-view might be a reason.
What I was told.
Okay, that's fair.
What I was told, and this was on our Discord channel, was that CW required the shows 4 to 5 weeks ahead of time to review before they put them on. And that was because they were looking for blood and stuff like that. You notice that they would black and white.
Yeah.
If there was the smallest little fingernail scratch and blood was apparent, they would black and white. So apparently that's what the thing was. The problem was they weren't 4 or 5 weeks behind. They were 3 months behind.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they went 3 months behind. Now, part of it is because when they stopped doing signature live events as pay-per-views and started doing them as 5-episode shows, that started pushing things. But then why are they doing these other TV tapings? That's what I've said about Power. Power's schizophrenic. Either give us studio TV tapings or give us the signature live event type things, but stop intermixing them.
Yeah. We talked about this before, and like honestly, if we're making a checklist, the first thing that I think would help the NWA grow is doing dedicated. Look, Power is a studio TV show. That's where they got attention. It's where they built notoriety. It was a throwback to Jim Crockett Promotions. It was a throwback to the NWAs in the Carolinas. Let's put Power. I'm not telling you have to go back to the Georgia Broadcasting Studio, but let's go ahead and make Power a weekly studio television show. And all these signature live events, either bring back the pay-per-view model or release the signature live events as a premium special, whether it be YouTube or Triller or Title Match Network, whatever it is, and give it to us that way. And you could still release those matches individually on Power if it helps tell a story or progresses a storyline. But I think that's really, really essential to the NWA to continue to grow. Because it's cool when you go to Twitter and you see the NWA has had 76 people watch, or at least the video has been seen 76,000 times, which is 20,000 more than the last one. That's really impressive. Or 70,000. Still, that's a pretty significant increase. That's cool. But what stories? What are you doing? What's the end game here? Is the end game to get engagement on Instagram, or on X? Is the end game to grow an audience? Is the end game to land a TV show where someone is paying for you to produce it? Because you got to change what you're doing. It's not working.
Yeah, we've established this a long time ago.
I know we're beating a dead horse right here. Understand. I understand that, but it's still. I think it should be pointed out that it does hurt the overall product.
But it kind of is that big of a deal.
Yeah, it is.
Because
it is.
We keep talking about it because it affects us every single episode.
Yeah.
Oh.
I do want to say what's up to everyone who's in the chat. We got a Dave Scooby here, Luthez is here, of course Willie Bowen's here, David Valentine's here, Jehovah Roy 44. I don't think I've ever seen you in the chat before. If you're still here, what is up? Rosville's in the house. Our good friend the Millennial Noob is here. So it's and Sam Retro. If I didn't say Sam Retro's in the house. What's happening, fam? Yeah. So let's get to Power. This episode opened up with Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox defending the NWA World Tag Team Championships against the duo of Daisy Kill and Talos. Kill and Talos are two-time former NWA U.S. Tag Team Champions, but this was their first opportunity to challenge for the World Tag Team titles. They defeated the original Country Gentlemen to win the titles at the 75th anniversary show. They would lose those titles to the Immortals at the first Saw Win pay-per-view, the pre-show. Then they would defeat the Immortals at Saw Win 2 to be named the number one contenders for those U.S. for the World Tag titles. They regained the titles in an eliminator match against the Fixers. The titles were vacant, and they just threw those two teams out there. They would lose those titles again to the Country Gentlemen at NWA 76. And this was their first opportunity for Kill and Talos to challenge for the titles, like I said earlier. Knox and Murdoch have been tag team champions since June 1st, 2024, when they defeated Blunt Force Trauma at Back to the Territories. And they have successfully defended the tag titles 5 times before this episode of Power. So, you could, whatever you want to say about some of the NWA champions and the history behind it, but I feel like how they've been leveraging Murdoch's has been good. They didn't just give them the titles when they first started teaming, and this storyline between Talos and Daisy with Trevor and Mike Knox. I mean, you got to remember when Daisy came into the NWA, he was bringing that giant around him. There was a giant that wrestled Trevor Murdoch, and they dismissed that guy almost immediately because of his bad attitude backstage. And then that's when they brought in Talos, and that feud started briefly before Knox and Trevor started teaming regularly with Daisy and Talos targeting Trevor. So it's kind of been a nice progression. And like, as someone who's very critical about the NWA not having continuity or following through with storylines, I mean, this was kind of a callback to that earlier feud that those two started with, Daisy and Trevor. Daisy,
which they
great.
seem to have forgotten about.
Yeah. I mean, I think I put more into it than the NWA did, but Daisy looks great. I mean, you and I, we saw him at the Crockett Cup DKM, and he was very aggressive in this match. In fact, these two guys, these two teams faced off at the Crockett Cup, and it was a lot of hard hitting wrestling in that match. And so it was kind of cool to see it again come back to here. Who gave the title Captain Badass to Trevor Murdoch? I think it's so just weird. I don't look at Trevor Murdoch and say Captain Badass.
Is it a play on Captain Redneck?
Maybe.
That's my guess.
They call Kyle Davis refers to them as the Wrecking Crew combination of Mike Knox and Captain Badass Trevor Murdoch. And I thought Wrecking Crew combination would have been a decent name if we didn't already gloss them as Murdochs, which is really, that should be what they're called.
Why don't you just call them the Redneck Wrecking Crew? That works out.
That would work too. I do like Dothan as a staple for the NWA to continue to run shows at, and I don't know if I would run there as frequently as they did or have been. They were there in December. They're here next month. They'll be going back to Dothan. It looks great, but I like Jaden said last week, I think you don't want to oversaturate that market. You don't want to kill it off. But getting back to Daisy Kill, he went from a flamboyant ukulele player, and he's turned into this Raven-esque type character, where he's become more fierce, more tenacious, and honestly just more entertaining. I'm glad that he doesn't come out with a ukulele anymore. I hope they keep that away from the character, because I'm starting to take him seriously. We've talked about this before. He's really starting to look like a real heavy hitter for the NWA, and that's saying something. He had to go through it to get to it, but I feel like he's in the right place, and hopefully the right time soon. Talos looks strong in this match. The match starts off with Trevor and Daisy going at it, and Talos and Knox going at it, and nobody on the roster makes Knox look small with the exception of Talos. And at one point, Talos was kind of holding his own against both Trevor and Knox at the same time. You guys remember that Knox was introduced to the NWA as part of the Cardona family?
Yes, I remember that, unfortunately.
That seems like such a long time ago. So
Actually, he wasn't even introduced as part of the Cardona family. He became part of the Cardona family after he was introduced.
Is that so? I guess I forgot that.
He attacked Trevor Murdoch in the cage.
Right. That's right.
And then they set up the title match between them. And then I guess it was after the title match that Cardona showed up or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's when the Cardona family came. So yeah, it was that's when they really effed up some.
They effed up a lot of things. All our guy Roswell says, I remember when I thought Trevor was a real Murdoch. I mean, he kind of looks the part.
He started as a Rhodes.
Jaden remembered him as a Bo Dub.
Yeah. Part of the Dups.
Yeah. So the match starts off with some tussling, some wrestling.
Everybody's tussling.
They managed to get Talos out of the ring, and it seems like they're going to be focusing on Daisy. So Murdoch is giving it to Daisy, but Talos is smart. He's on the outside. Trevor goes for like a cheap shot on Talos, and that's something that I notice a lot of the faces do in the NWA, especially in tag team matches. They will go and attack the other person's opponent. The face will attack the opponent, and it's like that's a kind of a heel move to do, and then the heel will usually get their comeuppance on the face, and it's like, wait a minute, that didn't sound right. Hold on. They will usually get revenge on the face, the baby face, and like in this situation, Talos jumps down from the ring apron, goes and then trips up Trevor when he was looking for that bulldog off the middle rope. When he gets back in the ring, he gets the tag, and him and both Trevor go toe to toe. Then him and Knox go toe to toe, and it's interesting to say the least that Talos, I think, has been used very limited in his time in the NWA, and I'm not saying I want to put the world title on him, but I think I want to see him in more matches with guys like Trevor and Mike Knox. The end of the match kind of came out of nowhere for me. And DK, you could tell me what you thought about this. They get Daisy and Talos are doing the quick tags. They're working over Trevor. And then, Trevor gets the hot tag to Knox. Next thing you know, it's the high-low. Match is over. Daisy gets pinned 1, 2, 3. And it just kind of came out of nowhere for me. What did you think about that one, DK?
Well, it was weird because it wasn't even technically a hot tag. Because there was, just all of a sudden there was Murdoch in that corner and he tagged out.
Yeah.
There wasn't any of the drama that's normally associated with, what we call a hot tag.
That's true. And I get that, maybe Murdoch's is the kind of guy that you don't want to give that hot tag to because they have protected Trevor Murdoch's ever since he lost the title to Tyrus. Like, he's never looked weak. Even when the matches that he's lost, he's never looked weak.
Yeah, and he's up. Well, ever since he lost the title the first time, they booked him a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, they book him every time. They book him well every time except when he's champion.
Yeah.
NWA champion.
Yeah, and they at least did a better job the second time around than they did the first. The first time was horrible. But anyway, yeah, it was bizarre. I wasn't expecting it. Just my thoughts on the match itself was that it was a good kind of big man match.
Yeah.
And, there was some slobber knocking going on. And I was actually surprised that it wasn't a little more even. I felt like this was one of those things where the faces took 60% to 40% by the heels, which is very unusual in wrestling. And so one of the things I'll give Murdoch credit for is he can sell like the best of them. And so he did a good job. But yeah, there was kind of that tag out of nowhere. Mike Knox comes in, knocks Talos out, it's getting ready with Daisy, and they set up the high-low, hit it, and it's over. And then they had the dissension because Daisy Kill was mad at Talos afterwards and was pushing him to the back or whatever.
Well, and he was very aggressive the entire time. There was a part where, like, after Talos did that distraction on Murdoch when he was on the second rope, and Daisy goes to tag Talos in. He tags him, and he's like, "Get in the ring!" And is it unusual to see Daisy yell at his monster? Probably not. But he was definitely kind of bossing him around during this match.
Well, they are evolving Daisy Kill's character, and yes, Murdoch's lost weight. He's looking much better, certainly better than his first title reign. And what was I saying? Oh no, he definitely
the tension between Talos and Daisy.
Yeah. They've definitely evolved him, and they've evolved him in a good way. He is starting to become more of an imposing figure. And like I said, he had a good, he has a good physique. He has a good look. I don't like his current haircut. Either grow it back longer or cut it shorter. I don't care which, but currently it's not the best. And, yeah, he's evolving in a good way, and I think he's doing stuff in the ring well. And I'm very interested to see where they go for him. I am hoping that the team is split up now. I mean, they don't need any big major falling out. They just, need a storyline for Daisy Kill. Boy, I would send him after whoever the TV champion is, and yes, I know who it is. But yeah, I mean,
I was about to correct you. Oh no, it's I know.
Yeah, no, don't like to say his name. I don't want him to become Joe Hendry and appear. So yeah, I mean, because Daisy Kill's more aggressive thing. He would be a good person to go in the ring and just beat the shit out of the current TV champion and take his title. And so, even as a heel, he doesn't have to change to a face to do it. And although he probably would be a face in that particular match, but I know some of the people on Discord like him, but they're wrong. And I'm looking forward to see where this is going. I do have a question for you though, Jay.
Yeah.
Are you growing tired of Murdoch's at all?
Not yet. I hear what you're saying and I know where you're going, but
I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying
I feel like, look, I'm not ready to break them up as a tag team. I don't even think I'm ready for them to lose the tag titles. They are a dominant, big guy tag team, and they're booked very well as faces. This is probably the best champions that Billy has booked right now. But I mean that 100%. You look at Tom and you look at EC3 going back and forth with the world title, and it's boring. But you had even with Smalls in the picture as a manager role or mascot, whatever he was for them, the matches that they had with Blunt Force Trauma were good. The matches that they had with Daisy and Talos were good. I'm ready to see them defend against the Immortals. I'm ready to see them defend against the Colognes, and I want to see them defend against the Country Gentlemen. And that's three very interesting storylines that you can go with from this moment. And that doesn't mean that Blunt Force Trauma goes away. It doesn't mean that the Immortals have to go away. There's opportunity to keep going with this tag team. And I don't see a tag team right now in the NWA who would be better. And I feel like they're still keeping it fresh enough where, they'll go out there and beat up on some old boys. They'll throw in some jobbers out there and they'll beat the crap out of them. And you get that experience of seeing them really beat the crap out of people. But then you could see them have a very competitive match with a team like Blunt Force Trauma or the Immortals. I mean, they haven't wrestled the Immortals yet, but I imagine that's coming soon too. And I don't think there's a reason to break them up. Their story has been one of the more interesting stories in the NWA currently.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone else to put the tag titles on right now. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Murdoch's right now. but they have been champions a while. And so,
Devin Dowling, I love you like a little brother, but shame on you for saying that.
I put a rocket underneath him, shoot him right into the damn sun.
this stage, I think the other one has potential.
To what? Become antimatter?
Well, maybe. I've seen him wrestle Country Gentlemen and stuff.
I would be okay with them winning the U.S. tag titles
if they got some wins.
Yeah, I mean that's
some real wins. I don't like that they're with the TV champion, dude.
No, I know that's Exodus Pro offshoot type thing, and I can almost guarantee you Aaron Stevens at some point will be managing all three of them, which I'm not looking forward to. But
by the way, I'm sick of Aaron Stevens on the territories. So
I guess I haven't seen enough of it to be tired of it. But as far as Murdoch's goes, I say just keep that ship steady. I don't see a reason to take the belts off of them. And if you bring in a better tag team, or you have a tag team that's ready, then maybe I would consider it. But you're not going to put Murdoch's in. You're not going to put Trevor in the title picture right now. And I don't think that Mike Knox makes sense as a singles wrestler. He was very poorly used as a singles wrestler. It wasn't until they put him in this tag team that I really feel like they got the best out of Mike Knox. So again, why rock the boat? If they're doing okay right now, I would say just stick with it.
And like you said, they're probably the best booked of the champions, which of course doesn't say just a ton, but it does say something. They are using them for their thing. I know one of the problems is Knox almost never works outside of the NWA. So like some of the territory stuff, they haven't been available for. I guess they're going to do some title match somewhere. I forgot.
Yeah, they're going to be doing a WLW show. I think I might have the graphic for it.
That's probably a favorite of Murdoch.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
And so that'll be interesting. So,
BK, would you use Murdoch in IHWA?
Would I use Murdoch's? Like the
Murdoch.
team? Oh, Murdoch?
Yeah.
Oh, if I could afford him, I would, yeah. Definitely.
I have a feeling he'd get over very well in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, he wrestled for SWE. I mean, he's the type of person that I wouldn't necessarily bring in for, like, who I'd bring in more as an attraction. I'd give him some mid-carder to beat up.
Can I volunteer Dave Dahl?
If you pay his ticket down here, we'll
Can I ship him in a box? I might
sure.
even cut holes in it.
Speaking of shipping your box, if you want Connor the Flag Boy to have another, person to wrestle against, then I would certainly
Dr. Staconium, if you're listening, because I know you end up listening to the replay, send Dave Dahl and Connor the Flag Boy to get beat up by Murdoch, and I'll help pay for it.
That'll work.
Jane's coming out of pocket for that one.
So what else was on this episode, Mr. Cagle?
So now this was a 3-match episode. I know that Noob pointed that out earlier, and that's kind of an interesting format. The signature live events, because I guess they're the bigger than life events, to try to have that big league feel to them. They have longer time limits, and these are, typically better matches. But again, I think I'd rather have had like I don't know, the distinction between signature live events and TV tapings, I think, should be more than just how long a match goes. The next match was a matchup between the No Limits match, and there was no X Division title. There was no Master P. I was very disappointed in this No Limits match. The feud between Kerry Morton and Colby Carino, again, that's one of the hallmarks of the Looks Like Kills. There's a lot of callbacks to some of the previous angles involving these talents. Now, Colby Carino and Kerry Morton have shared the ring 14 times since both of them have debuted in the NWA. Colby defeated Kerry to the finals of the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Tournament in 2021. Now, although Homicide would go on to win the title, Morton would be the number one contender in a match that also featured Colby Carino. That was a 6-way scramble based on, and also Joe Alonzo happened to be in that match as well. Just a little footnote there. Morton would go on to win the title, and then his whole character would change. He would go from the baby face that was akin to his father, Ricky, to more of a heel. And him and Colby would feud for that title. Again, we would see Morton and Kerry and Chalmette, Louisiana at the Revolution Rumble. And then Carino would finally take the title off of Morton at NWA 76. That was the title match where Colby would become champion. And then after that, Colby would end up losing the title to Joe Alonzo. And similarly, both Kerry and Colby self-designated themselves for the heavyweight division, meaning that they'll no longer compete for the junior heavyweight title, which is interesting because neither one of them are all that big to begin with. And Kerry Morton,
now, do you mean interesting, or do you mean interesting that's really stupid?
I think that both of them should have stayed in the junior heavyweight division, especially when they had a match a few weeks ago that Spencer Slade was in the junior heavyweight division. When I look at Spencer Slade, and I get it, he is very fit. He probably doesn't have an ounce of body fat on. So much more physically intimidating than either Colby or Kerry. And I'm not trying to put down, I'm not a body guy and I shouldn't be talking about anyone else's body, but I think if Kerry Morton was built like Spencer Slade, I think Kerry Morton would already be signed to the WWE. With that being said, both these guys as heavyweights don't really make sense. And I get it. I look at Colby Carino and more every day he's looking more like his dad. His hairstyle right now is very Steve Carino-esque NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But he's not. He's not 6'3". Like, maybe I'm over speculating how tall Steve was, but he's not anywhere near as tall as his dad was. He's not as big as his dad was. Now he's probably in better physical shape right now than his dad was, but he still looks like a junior heavyweight, and I think that's going to hold him back.
When Carino was NWA World Champion, he only weighed like 206 pounds.
Yeah, but he was also like his body was bigger.
He was kind of skinny then from some injuries, but he's I don't know that he's the 6'3" that they bill him at, but he's at least, over 6, I would say.
Looking at real quick, I just went to Cage Match just for shits and giggles. They bill Steve Carino at 6'1", 235 pounds, and I get that's probably later in his career. He was a much lighter guy when he was NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's former like NWA. I think there was like NWA East or NWA New York Junior Heavyweight Champion, something like that.
Former NWA Light Heavyweight Champion too.
There it is. That's what I was looking for. But Colby Carino is only 5'7", and that's being generous. I've seen him in public. I'm 5'8", and I was a lot taller than Colby Carino, and he's billed at 161 pounds. Now he might be heavier than that now because he has been taking care of himself. He's in the gym. He looks good, but he's not a heavyweight, and it's okay. He doesn't have to be. But, when you have a heavyweight division and a junior heavyweight division, it's a little off. My guy Soto619 says it's Jay Owens. That's fun stuff. But getting back to it, so the story of these two guys, they've had this prominent history going back and forth, and it was recently reignited when Kyle Davis pegged Colby to be his mystery partner when the Southern Six had their thing with Kyle Davis, and it started off as Kyle Davis and Colby, but then later it would become Brian Idol and Kobe, excuse me. So they've had a lot of history together, and this is both men are second generation talents. That kind of goes all into the story. Again, the callbacks to the previous matches that these guys have had, the fact that Colby took the junior heavyweight title off of Kerry. that there's a lot of history here, and I like that. I'm glad that the NWA, they even acknowledged it during the broadcast that Colby's first match in was against Kerry Morton. But for a match that was described as having no limits, no time limits, no holds barred, it was kind of a boring match to me. The only stipulation in the match is that it must finish in the ring. Pinfalls or submissions only. No countouts, no DQs. Early on, Colby gets the advantage after a few strikes back and forth, and I'm not entirely sure what the match was in terms of pacing, like where it was on the front of the card or the back of the card, because I know they film these matches and some of them go in order, some of them don't. But the crowd was not into this match in the beginning, and honestly, it took a while before them to even heat up to this match. And they had talked about how the Southern Six were there at the last time at Hard Times and got a good reaction from the crowd. The fans were sitting on their hands for this one. I could have swore I heard crickets a couple of times as the match was going on. Even when Kerry grabs the chair, the fans hardly even reacted to it. For his trouble, he eats a baseball slide from Colby, and then Colby takes the chair and then slides the chair at Kerry. That was kind of an inventive spot, and I like that. Then Colby would dive onto Kerry on the outside. This would kind of ignite the match a little bit, but still it was very tame by comparison. There was a body slam on the ramp. Kerry throws Colby into the ringside barricade a couple of times. That's when the fans started waking up a little bit. And at one point when Colby was sitting on the ring steps because he was kind of winded and a little knocked ditzy from hitting the barricades, Kerry goes to Kyle Davis again and starts to reignite that almost to the point where he's going to punch Kyle Davis. And Scott Wheeler, the referee, who is usually the most annoying referee as far as I'm concerned, he steps in and blocks the punch and holds back Kerry's arm. And I'm like, this is a no holds match. What do you care if he hits Kyle Davis? You don't have any jurisdiction out here. Your job is to count the pin or count the submission. You're not here to stop the violence from happening. It was at that point I was just like, what are we doing here, guys? Again, it took a while for the crowds to get into it, and at one point Colby starts throwing a ton of chairs into the ring. The fans start chanting for tables, which they were disappointed because no tables did end up in the ring. We did see a neat spot where Colby hits the toe hold, the
drop toe hold?
Yeah, the drop toe hold like Raven used to do onto the chair, and that stunned Kerry for a bit. They had a couple of false finishes, one that was very confusing when Kerry Morton connects with a power bomb onto Colby, onto two chairs that were stacked together, and the referee counts 3, but you could clearly see Colby holding the rope in the camera angle, and Wheeler counts 3, gets up, and then waves off the 3 count. And wait, what? Like, again, the bad officiating will make a match even worse, and this was one of those cases. Carino, he waves off the finish. Carino ends up getting reinvigorated, hits a Finley roll off the top rope onto some chairs, and then connects with his driver. I don't even know what they call it, that somersault driver onto some chairs to get the 3 count. Finishes Morton, finishes the match. And again, we talk about in a vacuum. Even in a vacuum, this match sucked. And I like both these guys, and I wanted to get into this match. But they were going this whole ECW type vibe, and it just didn't pay off. The referee botch, if it was a botch, maybe that was planned. I don't know. That killed the credibility of the referee as far as I'm concerned. Like, that should have been the match. It should have been over. Kerry should have won. And the fans didn't seem all that into it. DK, what were your thoughts?
That bored the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I don't really have much more to say than what you said. The crowd wasn't into it. I wasn't into it.
And the disappointing thing about it is that all that history was there. They could have played this up. And instead of calling this a no limits match, maybe this should have been a number 1 contenders match for the TV title or a number 1 contenders match for the national title. It could have been a meaningful match, and it wasn't. You know, and who knows? Next week we'll see Mr. Grimm's challenge for another title. When you got Colby there, who's killing himself to just get in the spotlight. I don't know.
Speaking of spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, we're hosted tonight by Jay Owens and El Geriatrico.
Oh my god. You want me to kick him off, DK? Just say the word, I'll kick him off.
Kick him off. Anyway, no, just what was the purpose of the match?
So this rivalry exists all because of Kyle Davis mouthing off to Thrillbilly Silas Mason. I mean, that's the genesis of this part of the feud, because the TV title, or excuse me, the junior heavyweight title, that feud was long and done. You know, both men have even designated as heavyweights now, so okay, that's not what they're fighting for. What reinvigorated this was Kyle Davis got slapped so hard by Silas Mason that he lost hearing in his ear for a little bit and challenged them to a match, and his mystery tag team partner was Colby. And Colby, obviously, Kyle Davis is a Northeast guy. Kyle Davis trained in Ring of Honor. I think he even trained under Steve Corino at some points. So there is, if you follow the legacy of, you know, the internet millionaire Kyle Durden before he was Kyle Davis, like you could piece some of this together. But for the casual fans at home, there wasn't a whole lot to connect to. And so this matchup, all based on Kyle Davis and protecting Kyle Davis at all costs, you know, they had that tag match with Brian Idol and Colby Corino versus the Southern Six, which Colby and Brian Idol won. And so they Kerry's getting the shit end of the stick on this. He should have won this match, but lost. He lost the last match. It's just like, what's the point?
I don't feel like it settled anything. I don't feel like there was really a big issue going into it. They did have the thing with Kyle Davis again, a story that we've talked about over and over and over again. Nobody cares about. And I don't want to see the wrestlers beating up the ring announcer, and I'm not interested in whatever. And, you know, Billy Corgan needs to keep his dumbass mouth shut. No, Billy.
Well, Billy was on this episode, so that was
which was nice. But I'm just like, you know, no, nobody cares. Nobody wants to see Kyle Davis involved. Nobody wants to see. I don't have a problem with Corino wrestling Morton. You know, they have history, but this most recent flare-up, nobody cares about, because the angle that started it, nobody cares about. And they have a no limits match, which was boring. How do you have a boring no limits match?
Maybe they should have limited the boring.
Like, yeah.
Or eliminated it.
They should have. Well, they should have eliminated the match. I mean, there was nothing in the story that makes you want to go, yeah, I can't wait to see this match again. And, I mean, let's be honest. They had good matches in the past, but none of them were classics that made you go, oh, man, every time these two wrestle, it's just a glorious thing. None of that.
It's not Savage and Steamboat, you know, it's not even close. And you know, one of the things that I think really hurts the NWA in terms of credibility is you literally ended a Power episode 2 weeks ago with a very incendiary promo between Silas Mason and Brian Idol that got me excited to see a Brian Idol match. Like, I want to see that match. And now for 2 weeks in a row, you've left it off the show. And I understand, like, hey, maybe, you know, for pacing purposes, maybe that's supposed to be a main event somewhere. But, like, it was billed off of an episode of Power. Like, that should have either been the first match or the main event for the first week of Power from Looks That Kill. And I get that you need to have it paced out so that that Kenzie wins the title, or Kenzie defends the title against who did she face? Hollywood Haley J. So maybe Idol versus Silas Mason should have kicked off that episode of Power. And a match like this one, I don't know, maybe you push it back a little bit. Maybe this should be one of the back ends that lead us up to the next either TV tapings or something else. I feel like you give away so much goodwill and credibility when you have these amazing promos. Like, one of the things I don't look at the NWA as is a place where you're going to see great promos, but that moment with Brian Idol, who I've never been a fan of, and Silas Mason, who I'm a huge fan of, both did such a phenomenal job of putting that match over and the importance of that match. And they build it up, and you got this. That's how they ended Power, for crying out loud. And then 2 weeks later, we still don't see the match. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing?
Nobody knows, and that's the problem. So
Noob says next week we get that match, and that's cool. But now it's like
now 3 weeks,
and my excitement level. Look, it should have been the opening match on Power week 1 from Looks at Kill. They missed it. They fudged it. They fumbled it. Whatever you want to call it. Okay, then it should have been either the main event this week or the opening match this week. Nothing.
And there's a reason for it. I'm going to be interested to hear Jaden's opinion on this. But here's the thing. An average match is much better when it's hot. So when you fire the crowd with the promos between them, even if they only have an average or good or whatever match, you're still more likely to be into it because you still got all this energy going. Well, 3 weeks later, we've had title changes. We've had tag team dissension. We've had surprises. So, now there's a lot that's gone on in between. And so now it's like, now they have to have a killer match.
Yeah.
And so, Jaden, what do you think? Is that a legit concern or thought when you delay your heating the fans up and then waiting 3 weeks to pay off?
Have you ever had a job where you go to put food in the microwave, and then as soon as right about the time the food's over, somebody comes into your job and you have to work with them, and then next thing you know, your food's cold again, so you got to try to heat it up again, and that thing you're right about to eat it, and somebody comes in, and after like the third or fourth time heating it up, it's not really edible anymore. That's what I think that they have right now is what they have to worry about with anything going on with the NWA. There's nothing wrong with a slow build, but it has to be gradual. It has to have a starting point and build to a crescendo. Nobody's going to want to go to do a roller coaster that drops down real fast, and then the final part of it is just building up slowly. Everything has to be done very logically when it comes to booking like that. So by having that anticipation built without continuously building up to it to something to build that crescendo to that big final match, all you're doing right now is just giving somebody something they want and then not giving it to them. This ain't like edging, you actually have to build to that big climax. You just can't just stop and stop and stop and start and start and stop.
I'm gonna say this as your friend. If your significant other is into edging, you need to lose that significant other. Get rid of them because you don't need that kind of negativity in your life. We all deserve to finish.
You like Christian better?
What?
Instead of edging? You like Christian?
Shit. Jesus.
I need help.
I'm not drunk enough for that conversation. Before we get on to the next part, David Valentine says, where is Blake Bulletproof Troop at? That's a great question. I mean, look, his last real feud in the NWA was with Jack Stain, rest in peace, and Jack's made him tap out to Trap City. I don't know what you do with a submission fighter that gets tapped out to the camel clutch. I love Jack Stain, and I will always remember him as one of the greatest NWA world champions of our time and space. But he shouldn't have beat Blake Bulletproof Troop in a submission match, and it sure as hell shouldn't have been with a camel clutch. And what do you do with Blake Bulletproof Troop after the submission fighter, the MMA fighter, loses to a camel clutch? I don't know where you go from that. So we haven't seen him on TV, and I doubt you will. Things could change. And Billy Corgan always said that the NWA carousel of talent, you'll see talent come and you'll see talent go. I mean, I missed Jamie Stanley. My favorite of all the NWA was the Pope. I think he would be a welcome addition to the roster right now. We had JTG, who I thought was really, really good and could have done some interesting stuff in today's NWA climate. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, there just wasn't a real. What are you going to do with that guy? What are you going to do with Blake Bulletproof Troop? The answer is nothing. Let him go. So, Noob says the NWA really fumbled the ball on Brian Idol like crazy. I know that Billy Corgan is extremely high on Markova to be the face of the NWA. I don't know what that has to do with Idol. I get it; they're kind of a couple, and they're you look when you get the other one like 50% off or something. But look, Idol's okay. Like I said, I've never been a huge fan of Brian Idol. That impassioned promo is the best thing he's done since he's been in the NWA, outside of some of the booking. And I don't mean matches, but actually venues where the NWA showed up. Like that's the best thing he's done on camera. I don't know what you do with him either. I don't put him in my title picture, that's for sure. But if we get back to the show, that takes us to our main event. Now, you got to remember, Ella Envy and Miss Star defeated the King Beez to become the tag team champions at the NWA 76th anniversary show at the ECW Arena. As early as January 9th, it was being reported on a lot of news, dirt sheets that Ella Envy was leaving the NWA. She had done an interview where she said, hey, look, January 1st, my contract's up. I'm testing free agency. And so she's been out since January 1st, which was a couple weeks after this match took place. Again, if match pacing, if taping schedules were better, this match would have not been spoiled as much. And again, that's only part of it because we know that Ella Envy was already on her way out. We knew that the next tag title match would probably be her last one. And then, unfortunately, Kylie Page was injured. Now, originally, the storyline was supposed to be Kylie Page and a mystery opponent against the It Girls for the NWA Women's World Tag Team titles. Because of the circumstances surrounding Kylie's injury, she was not able to compete. She comes down to the ring with her partner, Big Mama. That was supposed to be the big surprise. And her father, whose real last name is Henry, not Page. Go figure. It's Kylie Alexa and Kenzie Page, but they just gave her the Page as the last name, I guess. Anyways, when we look back at the Ella Envy's time in the NWA, and I think you have to include what she did and what she meant for the National Wrestling Alliance. She'd only been with the company for 4 years. She'd been there. She started when she was 21, and she's 24 now, so maybe even 3 years. But that triad of the pretty empowered Kenzie and Ella was so interesting to watch. Remember, they took the titles off the Hex. A lot of people were surprised by that. And when Ella Envy came to the NWA, her and Kenzie Page had been feuding on the independents. And they were sometimes tag team wrestlers, sometimes opponents. And it was kind of like when Ella came to the NWA, she corrupted Kenzie and made Kenzie into a bad girl. And over that time, Ella was able to capture the tag titles with Kenzie Page. Kenzie went on her solo pursuits, winning the Women's Television Championship, and Ella found a new partner. And she went from being Kenzie's sidekick to establishing her own sidekick in Roxy, and then you had Roxy and Kenzie and Ella, and then after they lost the tag titles, Ella kicked Roxy out of the group and brought in Kylie. We even remember after the 76th anniversary show down in Nashville, I was there for that one at the live TV taping. Roxy came out apologizing to Ella, asking to be brought back into the group, and Kylie, Ella, and Kenzie basically beat her out of the group. That was the last time we saw Roxy on Power until the Territory show back in June. So, I mean, already a 3-time NWA Women's Tag Team Champion. There was obviously some dissension after they lost the titles. Ella started, having those wandering eyes to the Burke and was really interested in challenging for that title. That kind of split up Pretty in Power indefinitely, where the Page sisters were on one side, Ella went the other way, and Ella found herself a tag team partner in Samantha Starr, Miss Starr. They actually had a match with Kenzie and Kylie back at the Return to the Indies back on June 1st. And it was for whatever reason, again, it was like a street fight. And in Tennessee, those Page sisters are baby faces through and through. And Ella and Samantha Starr took the loss that night. But they failed upward. They were able to get into a title match with the King Beez at the 76th anniversary show. They won the tag titles 4 times. Ella Envy with 4 different partners. That's something that is unheard of in the Lightning One era. No tag team wrestler more celebrated than Ella Envy. They even had a show dedicated to her receiving her flowers shortly after she announced that she was departing the NWA. So a lot of good stuff with that. But then, with the announcement of her departure, this was weeks after the match was filmed. Obviously, that's problematic. Kylie's hurt. That's problematic. They have to get the belt off of Ella because she's a free agent. She's not going to be there at the next show. So they bring in Big Mama. It's supposed to be Big Mama Kylie. Kylie gets hurt. So then they announce a mystery opponent to replace Kylie. It's Kenzie. Kenzie had already wrestled earlier on this taped event, defending her women's title against Hollywood Haley J. So this match, I don't know what I was expecting. I kind of thought it would be more than what it was. During the match offensively, Samantha Starr and Ella were pretty dominant against Kenzie. When Big Mama got in, she controlled the match. She controlled the flow of the match. It wasn't a very long match. And at one point, Ella had Kenzie in that finisher. It's like the Sister Abigail thing that Alexa Bliss does in WWE. Kenzie swerved out of it and turned it into a Kenzie cutter, got that DDP-esque cutter out of nowhere, just like DDP would have, and got the victory. Now we've got the world champion, the television champion, also have the tag titles. So Kenzie and Big Mama are now the it girls in the NWA. The match, like I said, just happened so fast. I wasn't really, I think just as I started getting into it, it was over. And it wasn't a terrible match. It wasn't awful, but it was nothing that I was super excited about. And I thought that we could have had something a little bit better to send Ella on her way out of the NWA. I'm curious what you thought about this one, DK.
All right. We already beat them up, but here's a little more. A lot of this has been known for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you knew where to look, you could find pictures of the new champions and, quick video of them winning the title and everything like that. So a lot of this is known. Even if you didn't know the swerve of Kenzie being in there, you knew the titles were going to change hands because we knew Ella was leaving. So the main thing that this has taught me, that this whole thing said, and I'm sure this is something Jaden can really go on and on about, but we'll get Jay's opinion first. Is this doesn't this say their women's division lacks depth and talent? Because in that the tag team titles are almost meaningless because we just took 2 singles champions and who have no connection No reason to be teaming. One, we haven't even seen him win the title. TV title, we have not seen him win it. Her first appearance on Power is as champion, and she's not even defending the belt. She's winning the tag belt. So, two girls control all the NWA women's titles. And they have three, which one being a tag team. So instead of four, they've cut it in half. Now it's three. And so, I mean, what does this say about the women's division, Jay?
I mean, you hit the nail 100% on the head. We've said this for a while now, go back and look. It's almost like after every champion lost the title, that they would leave the company, right? Going back to the Hex, when the Hex lost the tag titles, they left the company. When who else? The Renegade Twins won the titles. They lost the titles. They left the company. You look at who else was it? The King Beez most recently. Let's go back to Maddie Renkowski and Misa Kate. They lost the titles. Ren gets signed by the WWE. Misa Kate shortly leaves the NWA. The King Bees lose the titles. They leave the NWA. Ella Envy lost the title. She leaves the NWA. And there has not been a restocking of the women's division in the NWA. And something that we've bragged about how good some of the women are in the NWA. Where did they all go? They're all gone. You've got Kenzie. Yeah, Kenzie's been a workhorse. But now that she's a double champion, I'm even less inclined to get excited about her. Who have they built to elevate, to take her spot? She's been champion for over 500 days now. Maybe it's time to move on, or at least get some fresh blood in there. I know Noob's in the chat going, oh, it's time for Markova. But even if it wasn't Markova, Hollywood Haley J, Tiffany Nieves, any one of these ladies would be a good replacement for Kenzie Page. Not forever. But the significance of Camille holding that title for so long, it meant something because she was a badass. And if everybody does that, then it makes the title seem it makes Camille's time as champion seem less significant if everyone holds that title for 800 plus days. So that's strike one, and then strike two. Roswell said it. I don't like that Big Mama has won gold in 2 of her 3 appearances in the NWA. Can we get a minute count on her and a ring time in the NWA? Look, this is only her second time on Power, right? Or maybe her third time on Power. She was at the 76th anniversary show and the Burke Invitational. She was at the Return to the Indies in I think it went in another women's match. We never even saw her win the title in Chicago. Hell, she won the title back in October, and we haven't seen that title on Power since back in June when or I guess it was in August when they showed it, but back when Maxine Paler relinquished the belt to designate herself challenging for the Burke. So we haven't seen that title on TV since August. Ladies and gentlemen, that was 8 months ago, right? 6 months ago. So to say that there's a problem, I think is an understatement. You've never had a decent, credible tag team division that warranted having tag titles, and introducing a secondary title only for it not to be on TV is very problematic.
What's the TV title?
Yeah, it's a TV title that hasn't been on TV. And I want to point out, it still hasn't been on TV. Yeah, she was there with it, but she didn't defend the belt. It wasn't on the line. And that from looks at Keel, if she didn't have a title match, which I don't believe Big Mama did, that TV title still hasn't been defended since August.
I want you to think about this. Since the TV title, the women's TV title came into existence, we've had 3 champions.
Yep.
Only one of which spent her entire reign as a TV champion.
Not only that, but if you go and look at the title defenses, Kenzie actually was defending that belt. Max had very few title defenses as the champion. And we still haven't seen Big Mama with the defense yet. Like it's February 13th today, and we'll see Big Mama show up. I'm sure that Mama will be at the TV tapings in Tampa. I'm sure that Mama will be at the Texas show, right? But now that she's tag team champion, either she's pulling double duty or she's not defending the TV title, which again, why'd you even put it on her if she wasn't going to defend it? That match that crowned the champion had Hollywood Haley J, Natalia Markova, and Tiffany Nieves. And I get that all three of them were used as fodder for Kenzie Page, but like, why not put the title on one of them if you weren't going to use Big Mama until just now? Because either one of them could have had several defenses since August. We've seen them on our TV enough. So again, yeah, it's problematic. And I'm really curious to what Jaden says.
Honestly, at this point, it is problematic, but I think it was like a last minute, I have a feeling they're building Big Mama to take the belt from Kenzie. And that's the whole reason I think they're doing this, is to give them a stupid team, to split them up, to have them lose the belt, and maybe Big Mama cost Kenzie or Kenzie cost Big Mama the titles, and then they split up and they fight for the world title. And I think that's the only reason they're doing this. I don't say it's a good reason. It is their reason. If Big Mama's the next big thing, then holding the tag belt, the TV belt, and then the world title, that's what they consider pushing him. They don't really understand that just putting belts on people doesn't push them. A lot of wrestling fans don't understand that. But it's not good. It's not a good idea. And to be honest with you, if they're trying to build up Big Mama, have her defend against top challengers or somebody in that TV title thing before they even bother. Establish her first. The only thing I've seen of her is that Battle Royal.
Yeah.
And that's all I've seen of her. And I obviously I don't watch Power, so maybe I'm not the target audience, but it doesn't seem to make any kind of sense, in my opinion.
So real quick, and again, we've determined that Cage Match is not 100% reliable when it comes to its information, but just putting it out there, right? Like I'm on it right now, and if I go as far back as November of 2023, we saw Kylie Page beat Big Mama. I don't even remember that match, but that was in 2023, November of 23. Then we see Big Mama again on June 1st, 2024, as part of a big territory mixed tag team match where it's a Southern Six with Tiffany Nieves against Big Mama, Burchill, Taylor Rising, and the Country Gentleman. That was the last time we saw Big Mama until the 76th anniversary show, where she was part of the Burke Invitational. Then we'd see Big Mama in Chicago, but that match was never televised, nor did it ever air. We saw clips of we saw a photo of it on X, but no game day footage, if you will. And then we see her for a fourth time on Power, defeating the It Girls. So yeah, there's been very little development of Big Mama. And I've talked to people in the business. Good friend of this show, Ruby Reyes, squared off against Big Mama a couple of years ago at Rise here in Southern California. It was a great match. It was a fun match. And she had nothing but good things to say about Big Mama and her opportunities that the NWA will provide for her. But man, don't talk about it. Show me, and again, no title defenses since she's won this belt. She won the she won the television championship 119 days ago, and there have been absolutely zero defenses. In the old days, you used to strip somebody of their title if they didn't defend it in 30. This is a television title that hasn't been seen on TV. We can keep going here, but ultimately, it's why even have a TV champion if it's only exists on the internet? I have a replica title belt coming soon that I ordered off of Trophy Smack that says the Alliance. It's got 6,000 because, we're almost at 6,000 instead of 5,000. And that's going to come here soon. But that doesn't mean I have a championship because I don't defend it against anybody. It's not a real belt. It's a belt, but it's not a title. It's a belt. And at this point, I got that belt too. But at this point, it's a trophy that is never even defended. So what is it?
It's a decoration.
There you go. Decoration.
That said, though, I believe anybody who walks into a wrestling venue with the title over their shoulder should be forced to defend it.
I don't have a problem with that. Unless the little kid. I'll let little kids get away with it.
Nope, I'm kicking those little kids and taking those belts.
For the record, I put my belt in the bag when I go to shows. I don't wear it out, and I only bring it to shows that I know I'm going to get it signed at.
So that was Power.
Yeah.
Which was, I think I gave it a C. I don't remember what I gave it.
And I think that's being kind. I mean, I think a C is a fair grade. You know, the wrestling in and of itself wasn't bad. The No Limits match didn't get over. The surprise with Kylie was kind of ruined because we knew she was hurt. We knew that there was going to be some sort of stipulation. And again, if you're on social media, you already knew that there were new tag team champions. Again, Ella addressing the public that she was leaving the NWA didn't really help her cause, but I don't blame her for trying to get booked. You know, I blame the NWA for not being more proactive about putting matches out and getting these matches out sooner. The World Tag Team title match in the beginning was a lot of fun. I just didn't feel like it lasted long enough. So, like, the card wasn't bad. I think it could have been better.
Well, again, I think we're on these premium live events. One of the things that we're seeing is them putting them on as shows, episodes, hurts. And we noted that a lot during EC3's reign because it's like they got 45, 50 minutes that they do a show. Even putting on 3 matches, by the time you put in any filler that's there or whatever, it's not a lot of time for them. And so, and they won't, dedicate a show to the World Heavyweight Championship by itself, or haven't yet. But, like, we're about to see 2 cage matches coming up here in the next couple of weeks, I would assume.
Yep.
And I assume if we have Thrillbilly Idol next week, then I would assume we'd have, like, probably Markova, Neves in 2 weeks, and probably Tom EC3 in, 3 weeks, which would be the normal 5-week thing that they do with these things, which is way too long. And it's just, and there's other matches that we know that took place, so I'm assuming there's going to be more matches on than just those. It's almost like, why couldn't you dedicate a 30-minute show? I mean, if you do 45 minutes and you put on a 30-minute match, by the time you do the introductions and the build-up for it, and then the post, if there's any afterbirth on the angle or, just wrap up or whatever, you could easily do a 45-minute show. And so why they don't do something like that is beyond me.
Well, we know we were supposed to get this match, right? That's still to come.
Right.
This match is still to come. And then the cage match featuring, EC3 and Tom Latimer, which I don't have a graphic for, that's still to come.
Because they never did one.
Yeah, because they were billing that as we're having two matches in a cage, but they never said who would what.
Right, and it was a title match and everything like that. We just figured it out because all the other titles have been accounted for.
Yeah. Double D, I agree with you, man, and I really feel like that's where Billy's got to go, but I think he's just so reluctant to do it because I think at this point maybe he thinks, I don't know. I can't pretend to have the mindset of somebody like Billy Corgan where Money is almost no object for that guy. Also, he considers himself a super creative person. And yes, his music is revolutionary, and every award he's ever won when it comes to music is justified. I'm not trying to take any of that away from him. I'm not a huge Smashing Pumpkin fan. Rhinoceros was the best Smashing Pumpkin songs I've ever heard. They're not my particular cup of tea. I've seen him in concert, ripped it, totally killed the show. Amazing. However, his booking in the NWA is suspect at best. He leaves a lot of entertaining stuff. He goes after the low-hanging fruit instead of putting something that I think could be different. And like, it's funny, I was listening to Busted Open yesterday, and Thunder Rosa, obviously it's a big deal. Recently, Ricky Starks has signed with the WWE. He's now in NXT. And a lot of people are like, oh, AEW never gave Ricky Starks his due. I mean, dude, he was the Owen Hart Cup winner. He had victories over CM Punk. He's a former tag team champion. He was feuding with Sting. I mean, they gave him a lot to do when he was there. I don't buy into that. But she was talking about how good the NWA was pre-pandemic. And I think a lot of us look back very fondly at those days. They had some problems, but by and large, the angles that they were doing then were so much better than what we're getting now. And she didn't say, oh, Billy Corgan was a creative genius. You know what she said? Dave Lagana had a lot of good ideas. When sometimes Dave Lagana is considered a bad word in some circles, she gave him credit on nationally public radio. And it just goes to show you, like, Billy, you're not as good as you think you are. You're just not. And maybe it is time to bring in some help to help you pull back some of these ideas. Like, I don't need to see little people in the ring. If you're going to create a little people division, cool, let's go with that. I don't need to see a big guy and a little guy. It doesn't do anything for me. Rolando doesn't do anything for me. I don't who is he drawing in? Who is Eric Smalls drawing in?
Luckily, we haven't seen him recently, so I'm kind of hoping he's gone.
He'll be back when Slade comes back. But
he doesn't have to be. I'm okay if he's not.
Yeah, me too. But I know for a fact that he will be. And the point of all this is to say, it's like this is a show that features a lot of very good, talented individuals that are booked very, very poorly. And even, like I said, this week, some of the history is starting to permeate out of the NWA. And I don't know if it's by coincidence or accident. I don't know if this match between Colby and Kerry was booked because they have that history between them, or if it's just because Kyle Davis and Kerry Morton most recently had this squabble. And so I guess what I'm saying is, like, it's time to do something different.
Yeah, they desperately need to do something, and I just don't know what.
Get a better booker.
What?
Get a better booker.
Well, it's not just the booking, though, either. It's like you could bring in a great booker, but look how long it takes for them to film something to when it comes out on TV. And look, I was there for the first tapings of Power in Atlanta, Georgia, from September 30th, 2019, October 1st, 2019. And the first episode of Power aired on October the 8th, 2019. You know what I'm saying here? Like, it took a week to get that turned around from the big production and the big studio onto YouTube, and it looked amazing.
They used to record.
How long it should take.
They used to record on weekends and have the first episode done by Tuesday.
Yeah. And look, maybe that model isn't realistic. Okay, I get that. But when...
Why?
Well, money, maybe. I don't know. But, like, look, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood will film, and they're coming back on February the 25th. You get your tickets at HollywoodWrestling.com. You can go and watch that 4-hour wrestling show from 7 to, like, 11 o'clock. And you will have, at the end of March, about 4 weeks after they filmed it, you will have TV for the next 4 weeks. And they're going to be they're gonna shoot the show, and then they're gonna produce it, and then they'll have it on their affiliates, YouTube, all that stuff, a month afterwards. And even if the NWA adopted that model, which I still feel like is beneath them, it'd still be way better than what we got now.
I guess what I wonder is, I'm the first to admit there might be reasons we don't know about behind stuff. But, a lot of times that's the case when titles don't go on people that you want them to go on, or they get taken off people and stuff like that. Sure. A lot of times there's things behind the scenes going on. And so, but, who is there anything? Now, I'm being very honest here. Is there anything that you look at the NWA and you're the least bit excited about or happy about? Or is there anything going on that just makes you go, this is why I'm sticking it out. Last week's show was called The
Miserably Faithful.
The Miserably Faithful, because it makes us miserable, but we're still faithful to it, watching it. Except for Jaden. Jaden's a smart one of us, apparently. It's the only time I'll ever admit that. So, and it's like, what? I talked about when Mims was facing Grimsby, and I had to take off points because that just didn't seem like a national title match. It just didn't seem like a secondary title match that, either one of them would be in when they have as much talent as they have sometimes. But they need to get some women back in that are going to stick around for a while.
Yeah.
And, like a lot of people, I hear all these people clamoring about Haley J, and it's like, I really don't know how much we'll ever see of her. And then where was it where they started talking about all her issues? And that was completely shook me, because the person that was talking all about him was one of the people that used to talk about how they need to put, Haley, put a title on Haley J. And it's just like, I don't know. What are we doing with Tiffany? What are we doing with anybody? What are we doing with Slade? I mean, there's a guy that Jaden was so excited about when he first came because he has so much talent, and I haven't really got to see it. I mean, in order to see what he's capable of doing, I've had to search him out on YouTube, and WA hasn't shown me. Immortals who put on some good matches, well, they've disappeared for now.
They're still around.
Well, but I mean, they haven't been on the show.
Yeah.
It's like they got these big wins and then lost the number one contenders match, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
All right. So where are you going? What are you doing? Why should I watch you? Because I promise you're not really putting on anything that makes me want to watch you. Not even as a rec. I mean, there are people that hate watch shows. And I'm not doing that. Really, if we didn't have this podcast, I don't think I wouldn't watch it. I'd just keep up with it. And by the way, if you think I'm hard on the NWA, you should really hear how I talk about other promotions. Because, I mean, let me tell you what I think of ROH at the moment. And, ROH is where Tony Khan likes to put titles on Chris Jericho and on others of his guys, and then not have them wrestle on ROH shows. Because that's what's going to sell. That's what's going to sell a TV deal. Or or streaming or something. And as I've said, I go, if they get a streaming deal with Jericho's champion, it's not going to be because, it's going to be in spite. Can't stand AEW itself. I actually watched a match that Jay told me about that he said was pretty good. So I found it somewhere where AEW wouldn't get any credit for me watching it. And it's like, okay, yeah, I didn't like it as much as Jay, but it was good. I go, let me watch a couple of other things. And let me tell you, they were bad. And with one exception, I did watch the Hurt Business win the tag titles. And if they can get the Hurt Business over right, they'll have a much better chance of some interest with me.
I'll say this.
I watched TNA the other day, and it wasn't that good.
What did you watch?
TNA.
Oh, I'll say this. I've watched AEW, and my standards are obviously a little bit different than yours. I enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it, and I understand it's not for everybody, and that's okay. I don't see a problem with that. I don't expect everything I like to be everything you're going to like, and vice versa. But I think it's. I agree with DKM that if we didn't do this live stream every Thursday, I don't know that I would be watching it either. And, Jaden doesn't watch it. And, I want this thing to be good. I do. I want Billy Corgan to prove me wrong. I want it to be so good that I'm eating my words each and every week. And I haven't done that yet, Jaden.
Well, maybe if you put some barbecue sauce on it, you would.
Be more tasty.
Yeah, honestly, though, I understand why. It's just, I can't watch it. I try. I don't want to give them credit now. I don't even watch it just to see how bad it is because I don't want to give them credit for a viewership.
Yeah.
That wrong?
No, not wrong. It's funny, we talk about how good some of the talent is, and DK was mentioning Tiffany Nieves by name, and I just happened to open up a window and I see the next advertisement for Reality Wrestling, which takes place Sunday, February 23rd in Texas City, at the Walker Texas Lawyer Arena. And right on the poster, we see, I count 4 WWE ID talents, and up in the top right of the corner, Tiffany Nieves. And, if the NWA's plan is to just exist, then just exist. Okay. You can just exist. And I don't know that there needs to be a live stream anymore. I don't know that it needs to be on Twitter anymore. Look, let's be honest. For years, for decades, the NWA existed only on social media, their live events. There was no television show. The closest thing that came to a television show in the early 2000s is what Dave Marquez was doing, and even that only lasted about 8 episodes for the first time around, right? And before they became NWA Hollywood, they were doing NWA Pro Wrestling, and they didn't have a long survival rate. And it's like, maybe the NWA doesn't need to be on TV. Maybe the NWA should be just a live event. They do well live event wise. They have good numbers. I mean, we were both shocked and surprised how big the ECW arena crowd was. They had good numbers at the event in Forney, Texas for the Crockett Cup. When they go to Dothan, they have a good live gate. Maybe TV isn't for them. Maybe they should stop worrying about TV. Hell, Billy Corgan's going to be doing some solo shows in the summertime this year. Maybe the NWA is just his opening act. I mean, maybe they don't need to be a TV program.
Maybe. I don't think that's a wise idea, but it would be nice if they were good TV at least, maybe.
Yeah. And Roswell brought up Maple Leaf is rocking. It's not even a year into its reboot. Vladimir's making an appearance there. Check out their page. I saw that, and I'm excited for that. I think we talked about that a little bit on the pre-party. Tom Latimer being the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion and being on TV with that belt, I think, or pay-per-view, I guess, is a good thing. I think that's good for the NWA. I think it's good for Tom Latimer. but I don't feel like the NWA is capitalizing on that, right? Like, I don't feel like there's a working relationship now between Scott D'Amore and his Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling and Billy Corgan and the National Wrestling Alliance. Maybe if they were smart, there would be. For years, there's a promotion in Australia called the World Series of Wrestling, and they do these events. It used to be with Ring of Honor. It used to be with Lucha Underground guys. It used to be with TNA guys, and now it's AEW guys. And they'll have these American talents appear on these shows, right? And they'll mix it with the Australian talent, and they do it like for like twice a year for like a week or two. They bring them all in, do all these shows, and send them back home. And I don't know, maybe the NWA should get on board with that. But the way it feels now, it just doesn't feel like the NWA is doing enough to warrant having a television program.
I don't disagree, but I don't know. It's just, you guys like to suffer. You guys are masochists or sadists. No, you're masochists.
Yeah, well, we're both. We're sadists and masochists. Wrestling Lulz, who I haven't seen on here before, and thanks for hanging out. And honestly, I don't feel like getting rid of TV entirely is a good thing. Yeah, I mean, look, this is just someone who's frustrated, right? I don't think that the NWA has been putting out premium content. But I mean, there's 70,000 people who are watching the show, or at least there's 70,000 video views of their show on X. The YouTube numbers seem to be steadily increasing. So maybe I'm in the wrong here. Maybe Jaden, DKM, and I are all wrong, and those people are right. I don't know, but it is not an easy watch anymore. It's difficult to watch sometimes. Wrestling Bull says the NWA isn't doing enough to warrant anything. I mean, there is some stuff that, like I said, their live gate numbers are pretty good. I can't argue with that. There's some really good, talented people working for the NWA. There's a lot of people I'd like to see get a spotlight that makes sense, that could help them, wrestle full time and not have to have a 9-to-5 job. Now, I don't think Sal Wynn killed anything. I think if you're talking about the incident with the first one where Father James Mitchell dropped the sugar boogers, that wasn't. People take that totally out of context. Look, it was a stupid thing to begin with, but that didn't hurt the CW. They never were scheduled to be on the CW. They were always going to be the app. I know this because I talked to other people who are trying to get that same spot.
Are you breaking up, or am I just having trouble hearing you?
You having trouble hearing me?
I did for a second, yeah.
Yeah, you were breaking up for a bit. For me, at least.
Russell Lulz, if it ruined the NWA for you, I can understand that. That's a personal choice. I can understand that. It did not kill the NWA. That did not do anything for the NWA. That spot, the whole CW spot that they were working so hard for, like 3 other wrestling promotions were trying to get that same deal. And there wasn't a lot of money involved. I know this because I know the people who were trying to get that same spot. I know this. It's not speculation. It's not rumor. It's not gossip. Billy wasn't making a ton of money with that spot, if he made any money at all. I think he lost money because I don't think what he was getting paid for that show was covering his production cost. I do agree that he should sell the promotion, though. I'm with you on that one. I would offer him fair market value for it.
$1.95?
I'll give him what he paid for it. Right now, I would sell me everything, what you paid for the NWA. I'll take care of what your initial deposit in the company was. I can cover that. I got you.
I'll throw in Dave Dahl.
Let's talk about something fun before we go.
I'll throw in some people.
You can't throw your ex-wife in. It just doesn't work like that.
Why not?
You don't own her.
Obviously not. She's my ex.
All
Maybe
right.
she should be your Twitter wife instead.
I have a Subway wife.
I don't want to know what that is.
I go to Subway. I go to Subway to get lunch sometimes, and I, always get waited on by the same girl.
Yeah, my mind was in the gutter. That's not what I thought.
Yes, I know what you thought. You thought I went on a Subway and was banging some rap, but no.
If it was in Philly, it'd be big enough.
Yeah, or New York. Apparently, I remember that. Between,
Bad News Brown found one apparently.
Yeah, between Jake Roberts and Bad News Allen, I think was he Allen in WWE? I think.
No, Bad News Brown, which I thought was such a better name, honestly, than Bad News Allen.
Okay, he was Brown in WWE and he was Allen beforehand.
Go figure. Vince McMahon calls a black man Bad News Brown. Go figure.
Well, he was Bad News before.
Sure.
He just had to change the last name.
I think he likes alliteration. Just ask Mr. Wade Barrett.
Hey, question.
Yes.
It's a hot topic out in the world right now. So we got to get your thoughts and opinions.
I used to like that topic, but they really changed.
Yeah, I know.
I like Bob now.
Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
Showed up in NXT.
Yeah.
Never said his name.
Yeah.
Is he Ricky Starks like Sean Spears to Sean Spears? Or is he somebody else? Is he Lexus King?
Let's hear your take first, Shaden.
I think Lexus King was Lexus King because Vince McMahon had something to do with that. I think Triple H will allow him to be Ricky Starks.
I think the WWE in the past liked putting their stamp on everything. So Ricky Starks would not have been Ricky Starks in Vince McMahon's WWE. He would have been like, Chet Grinderhouse or some bullshit name. I hope that they go with the name Ricky Starks. He has built that reputation. He's a former NWA television champion, one of the shortest reigns ever, 3 days. 2 days. But he was very impactful in a short amount of time here in the National Wrestling Alliance. He had a pretty good run in AEW, despite what a lot of fans say. Hey, the guy didn't want to be there anymore. And I kind of don't blame Tony Khan for not promoting him and pushing him and putting him in a spotlight. If the guy said, look, I'm not going to re-sign when my contract's up. It's kind of a difficult situation to be in when a talent tells you, like, hey, I'm not going to do what's best for your company when my time is up.
Did he go out injured?
I don't think he was hurt. And if he was, it was for a short time. Like, look,
I have heard, and again, I don't necessarily follow close enough. This is just from some of the other wrestling pod things I've listened to. I have heard that there have been problems with some wrestlers that when they go out hurt and come back, they kind of come back expecting to be like in the same spot. And either they're not, or even worse, sometimes they just don't have anything for them. And so it kind of sounded at one time like Ricky Starks had, gone out injured, and then by the time he got back, it was like, yeah, we don't really have anything at the moment. And then it was like, well, do you want to, you do this, and it'd be like, oh God, no, that would ruin me. I don't know. I don't begrudge anybody the looking out after themselves, and maybe they want him to work with Jericho. I would have left.
I think just while we're on the topic, we lost DK. Look, the way I see it is this: positions are not guaranteed; positions are earned. And in the old days, guys didn't leave the road because they didn't want to lose their spot, and that's a known thing. I don't blame Tony for not having something for a talent, but I I question why there isn't something available for the talent like that. To me, that's dumb. You have that many guys on payroll. You should figure out something. I was perusing the rosters page the other day because there's a talent I haven't seen on any AEW Ring of Honor programming. That's Scorpio Sky, and somebody I genuinely appreciate, and I would even call him a friend. And I haven't seen Scorpio Sky on any AEW programming in maybe even a year. And but he's still on the roster section. He's still getting a paycheck, and Keith Lee, he's still there getting a paycheck. And it's funny, when those guys were hurt, they still got paychecks and no one said anything about that. But when they want to all leave, all of a sudden Tony's a bad guy for making them wait out their contracts. And even then Tony's like, okay, well, I let you out. He let Miro out. He let Ricky Starks out. He let Andrade out. He let a few more guys out of their deals. I don't see what the problem is with that. I think that's actually a really act of good faith by, you sign a contract like that. It's called a contract for a reason, and it's funny how people tend to beat up on poor little Tony when he doesn't dismiss these guys, but no one ever seems to have a problem when the WWE cuts tons of talent year after year.
Oh, they used to. The WWE used to take tons of heat for releasing people. Of course, they would always pick some of the worst times to do it, but yeah, I mean, they used to take tons of heat for it. That was part of the thing with AEW is that they weren't going to have to worry about it. And I think part of the problem was early on was that they, the contracts were kind of one-sided in that WWE every 90 days could release you. They could review your contract and release you. But the talent didn't have the same option. They couldn't sit there and go, okay, we're going to review you every 9 days, and if we don't like it, we're going to get released. In the case of Ricky Starks, I think Ricky Starks was ready to leave, and he said, please don't pick up my option. Okay, Tony had the opportunity at that time to say, okay, if you don't want to work here anymore, we won't pick up your option, and you'll be free to go. But he did. And, you got to remember when AEW first started, one of the things that they talked about, the Young Bucks and Cody and everything, they were going to be a place for the boys. Part of the reason there was no 90-day non-compete clause in AEW contracts was because they were never going to be letting people go. But, wasn't with cause. And for the most part, they haven't. They've let a few go. But, some with cause, some without. And I think that's part of it is that, they were really selling that, this was going to be a company for the boys and they'd all be, there and they would all sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya together and everything. And I think to some extent it has surprised Tony and some others that, guess what? There's been problems in the locker room since the company started. A lot of people, CM Punk brought it out, but there were problems in the locker room beforehand. It's one of the reasons Cody Rhodes is no longer there. And there have been problems in the locker room since. And I think it's just something that's caught everybody there who had top positions by surprise.
I was talking to one of my insider sources, and they were telling me that as much as people say like these negative things about Tony Khan, he's aware of all of it. He's very understanding of it, and he's not what's the word I'm looking for? Bitter about it. He's not angry about it. He's not mad about it. He just understands that that's what's going to happen. And I don't know. You're not going to please everyone all the time, and I just think that guy is not in a fair position. You know, if you don't like his wrestling, I get it. It's not for everybody. I feel like he's treated the boys way more fair than some of them probably deserved.
Probably.
And I feel like he's given people opportunities that wouldn't have had opportunities otherwise. My boy Sean Vega says he's definitely bitter. I don't know, man. I have not had a conversation with him myself. If that time arises, I'll let you know if he would ever talk to me. But
well, he has had public meltdowns.
Yes, but I think that's fair. Like,
maybe fair, but it's not smart.
No, has Billy had public meltdown? Has Billy had a public meltdown?
Billy is one long public meltdown. You know, we've said for a long. His big announcement. Remember the big announcement? His great big announcement was basically him adjusting the chip on his shoulder. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be around forever. Nothing going on with us. We're here. We're going to be around. We're not going anywhere. I didn't realize people were still accusing you of not. But
are you guys going to back my play if something happens? If he passes away, I'll reach out to his widow and see if she'll be willing to sell. You guys back that?
Sure. I'll even contribute.
There it is.
For $1.90. For $1.95, I'll supply the 95.
All right. Well, I think we're into something. Hey, we went past the 2-hour mark. I think that's a good stopping space for us. I do want to give Cam and Jade an opportunity to talk about the IHWE and the DAWG if they would like to. If there's anything they'd like to discuss before we call it a night, gentlemen, the floor.
Want me to go first?
Yeah, you first, DK.
C3PO. Okay. Yeah. IHWE, we're still looking. We're still driving. I'm actually talking with a new building. I don't remember if I told you guys last week, but the old building fell apart when the guy I've been negotiating with took it to the owner, and the owner said he didn't want pro wrestling because the fans were crazy. So I found a new building. We're talking with them. Things are moving forward. So, you know, keep your fingers crossed. I talked to them this morning. They have a short time span that they want the show to be in, and we'll see. I've been talking to some wrestlers, so there are some that are definitely interested in working the show. So we're going to go with that. So we ain't shut down yet, but we don't have a solid date yet. But I'll keep you updated. Mr. Jaden?
Jaden, are you ready?
I was born ready. All right. We're going to see this Saturday. Dangerous Gentlemen Wrestling Gladiators will be coming to the Monmouth University. The main event, Biggie Biggs, teaming up with Zoe, a.k.a. The Real One, a.k.a. the Enzo Amore. And they'll be taking on Justin Carino and main event Michael Mars. You'll see Falaba take on Connor the Flag Boy and hopefully squash him out of existence. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship will be on the line. You're going to see Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh in an open challenge. They're going to challenge any tag team that wants a shot. They're not happy about that, and Jim Molyneux set that up, and they're not going to be happy about it, but of course they're not happy about anything. You're going to see the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship will be defended. David Goley will be defending. You've seen him on Monster Factory, seen him on Apple TV. You can now see him on Amazon Prime. So that's David Goldie defending the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship will be on the line. Breaker Morant will defend against Nick Bati. You'll also see former WWE superstar Tank Tolan. You'll see Silver Lobo, the top stars up and down at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators at Monmouth University. Once we get those rings up to 2 flights of stairs, you're going to see all that. And again, then on March 15th, you have the Nerd Force Fan Fest. We're going to have a table there, and we're going to have a contest where the fans are going to have a promo contest. The fans are going to pick a winner. And then they're going to go one-on-one in a promo battle with one of the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator stars there that night, or Dave Dahl. You'll also see on next later, you've got the 17th of April at Rowan University. So that's going to be a great event. The main event is the winner of the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship match that happens this Saturday will defend against former WWE superstar Donovan Dijak. The World Wrestling Grand Prix, the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Championship will be on the line, as you'll see Valerie Verman defending against former WWE NXT superstar and Monster Factory graduate Notorious Mimi. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Championship will be on the line. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship will be on the line. Also on the card, you'll see NWA superstar Wrecking Ball Ligursky, Alex Kane from MLW. Again, the former WWE superstar Tank Tolan will be in action. Top to bottom, an amazing card. You got to make sure it'll be on YouTube, so make sure you check out that. After that, where they're going to be just 2 days later at the South Jersey Geek Fest. It's going to be a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators all-day event. We're pretty much hoping to be there from like 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., maybe a little bit later, maybe a little bit earlier, but we're going to try to get as many matches as possible. Right now, the no matches are signed, so it's going to depend on what happens, I guess, on the other two events coming up. But you're going to see some great action. It's part of the NERT of the South Jersey Geek Fest, so go get your South Jersey Geek Fest tickets, and then you can see Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators action as part of it. And hopefully soon we'll have some other stuff to announce. So make sure you check out dogprowrestling.com. dogprowrestling.com for all the details. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. We added a couple fan cam or Roman cam footage so you can watch some of the matches that recently put up there. Plus, matches are going to be showing up from the Monmouth University and eventually from the Rowan events and the South Jersey Geek Fest. You'll see some stuff and hopefully more. We're working on some stuff. We're trying to take over all of New Jersey and maybe even get into Pennsylvania if things work out well. So again, check out Dog Pro Wrestling. Make sure if you go on YouTube, you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Guys, please share a match you guys like and comment on it and like it and subscribe to the channel and buy the shirts from Jay and get some W.
Buy the shirt.
And buy some shirts from DKM. He's got some nice ones out there. I might be wearing one this weekend, depending on what the weather's like. I mean, I'm probably wearing a jersey, too, because it's going to be cold. But and a jacket and maybe something else. Maybe pants. Maybe I'll wear pants. I don't know. But we'll see. But, yeah, get a shirt. Wear it to a wrestling event. Make sure you take a picture of it.
There it is. I like that one. Anyone that tags me in a photo on Instagram wearing Alliance merch, we'll retweet that and not retweet it. We'll reshare it, whatever that is. But hey, guys, we're gonna wrap it up there. Hey, Wrestling Lulz, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man. We'll see you next week, same time. Come on, talk wrestling.
How did you like, by the way, Wrestling Lulz, where you have Jay Owens and El Geriatrico?
El Geriatrico. He's not amused. You better not come looking for DK because he's looking for you, my friend. All right. Well, again,
I just make sure I won't dress as a cloud. That's for sure. And also Valerie Verman will have some matches on YouTube soon. Yeah, see, I'll make him happy. I knew that.
All right. Until then, guys, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.